Hi guys and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron and welcome back today to another live stream. It is Tuesday. I do apologise that we didn't stream yesterday. Of course it was the bank holiday weekend, so I had a little bit of a long weekend off. Now I do just want to say a couple of things before we go into today's stream. Again, the green screen's playing up a little bit on one of the sides to me. I believe it's that side of me. It's just because the light outside basically is shining through. It's quite bright outside, so it's cocking up the green screen, so I do apologise about that. You'll probably see it fading in and fading out at times throughout the stream once it goes a little bit darker outside, but I do apologise about that. And secondly, if you can't tell, I'm a little bit bonged up with cold and flu or something of the likes anyway. I've been sniffling for about 2 or 3 days. My throat, my chest, my stomach's all been killing me, so I do apologise if I'm a little bit slow on today's stream or I'm not quite as energetic and as sort of upbeat as I usually am. We've got a couple of things to talk about today. I want to go through the ups and downs, or at least my ups and downs for the 2018-19 Premier League season. We're going to talk about the Premier League. We're going to talk about the FA Cup and we're going to talk about the Carabao Cup as well. I'm going to give you 5 ups from me and 5 downs from me, and I want you guys to leave your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're watching this live, a massive thank you for joining us. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed or you are enjoying the stream. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe as well. We're so close now to 500 subscribers, so one last push. I'd be massively appreciated if you could share the channel, share the streams, subscribe if you haven't already, of course. That would be massively appreciated. So yeah, we're going to talk about the ups and downs for this Premier League season. Now obviously the Premier League season lasts 10 months. There's a lot of things that happen, especially with Everton Football Club. A lot of things happen during that time. I've narrowed it down to 5. I think for me, 5 key ups and 5 key downs. Now, this is all opinionated, of course. Something I might say is an up, one of you guys might disagree with. Something I might say is a down, one of you guys might disagree with. So that is why, obviously, I love doing the live streams. Get all your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you're watching it as a YouTube video afterwards, get them in the YouTube comments, and I'll be sure to be answering them and replying to them all night as well. Should make for a really interesting one. Obviously, continuing on our season review of the 2018-19 season. Got a couple of more videos to do to conclude the season, and then of course we'll go on to talking about the next season and pre-season and what Marco Silva and Marcel Brands need to do, in my opinion, in order to make this team and this squad a real top 6 challenging team. Of course, we'll talk about news as well in and around the times when it's coming through. We've got a load of news flying through all of a sudden. The rumours on Twitter are going absolutely mad. I've seen one saying that Kurt Zuma's just bought a house in Manchester, so he's unlikely to go back to Chelsea. And there's been loads today as well about, various other players and stuff like that. So we'll talk about them as they come in, but I wanted to do an ups and downs for the season today, so we can talk about the season again, reflect on it, as we've had a couple of weeks now to sit back and go, right, how good was that, or how poor was that, depending on what you think. So before we start the stream properly, I'm just going to tweet the link out on Twitter so everybody knows we are live, so you can come over and watch us if you feel like I said, a little bit different this week because of course it was the bank holiday yesterday, so I do apologise about that one. There'll still be a stream. There'll be a stream on Thursday and there'll be a stream on Friday this week, so don't forget to join us for those as well, and then back to Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the usual business following then. So yeah, anyway, listen, I suppose we'll go into it straight away. I want to talk about the downs first because I want to leave the ups till last. I want to leave the best things till last. I want to leave you on a positive, good note, because I think it's only right to do that. I think as Evertonians, we were leaving the season on a positive note. Now, don't get me wrong, listen, there was times in the season when it did look quite negative, and we were sort of sitting there thinking, well, are we anything more than a mid-table side? Are we ever going to push for the top 6? Are we ever going to be able to break that mould? But I think as the season went on, obviously post-February, towards the last games of the season, I think we really did put a shift in. We got some fantastic results that we'll talk about in the stream, and of course, listen, we ended the season strongly, on a really positive note with a 2-2 draw at Spurs, a fantastic result against Champions League finalists, against a team that, yeah, okay, they mightn't have had their full squad out, but we never had our full squad out either. We had Seamus Coleman missing, we had Richarlison, who's our top goal scorer, missing, we had Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who's been absolutely fantastic this season, missing as well. So we had key players out. Yes, they had key players out as well, but so did we. And we still went there and we put a really, really top shift in. And realistically, we should have won the game if we wouldn't have given away a stupid free kick on the edge of the box that Christian Eriksen scores for fun. So anyway, like I said, that's why I want to leave the ups till last, because it is a positive time to be an Evertonian at the minute. I know there's a little bit of, palaver on Twitter over the kit and, Zooming and Gomez and whether they're going to sign and what have you. But I think overall, as Evertonians, it's nice and positive to be, sitting here going, okay, we ended the season strongly. We got some really, really good results against the top side. So let's, look forward to what next season will bring. Now let's look forward to what Marco Silva and Marcel Brands are going to do for the club in the summer going into next season. And hopefully we know we can beat these sides. Hopefully we can challenge them for their spots as well. So I've written them down in front of me. We'll go with the downs first. Listen, the first one on my list, and probably I dare say the first one on your guys' list, when you think of negatives from the season, when you think of downs from the 2018-19 season, I dare say this is the first one that jumps up at you, and I don't want to talk about it anymore. I cannot wait until we've stopped doing all the post-season stuff. I cannot wait till this season's done and dusted, purely because I hate talking about this game. But listen, it's a massive down for the season. It was a massive moment in our Premier League season, and it was probably one of the biggest downs. So I suppose we have to talk about it, don't we? It is the Anfield derby. Listen, like I said, I don't want to go too much into the results or what happened in the game. You all know what happened into the game. I don't have to sit here and preach it. But I think the Anfield derby was quite significant in our season, if I'm being perfectly honest, because that game was it was the turning point, and it was the turning point for the worst. Sorry, my throat's really, really sorry. You can tell I've got some sort of cold and virus or whatever it is. I wish it'd just piss off. But it was the turning point in our season. It really, really was. We were in a good run of form leading up to that game, with beating Crystal Palace, with putting a really, really good fight at Old Trafford against Manchester United. Unlucky to lose that game, with beating the likes of Leicester away from home as well, Cardiff as well. And we were going into this game against Liverpool, and we were in good spirits. And obviously, I'm not going to talk about the game in itself, because we've spoke about it far too many times already. But we were fantastic in the game of football as well, from the first minute to the 96th minute in the 97th minute game of football. We were absolutely fantastic, and for me, we done more than enough to deserve at least a point, if not the 3 points. But that moment of madness in the last seconds, that little split-second decision by Jordan Pickford, really, really took our season on a roller coaster ride. And for me, it was for the worst. We then went into a really, really bad run of form. We spoke about it in the seasonal review last week, about the effects that it had on the side, effects that it had on the confidence. Of course, we then struggled to, we got draws against Newcastle, against Watford. We were then beaten quite heavily against Spurs, and, we really, really struggled to get any sort of consistency and any sort of run of form going. And I think that was purely down to the fact that the lads just lost the confidence, the lads just lost the head, because you can understand it to an extent. You can understand if you put that much work in on the training ground, if you're in a really, really good run of form, and you're constantly getting results and you're constantly beating teams, and then you go to your local rivals and you put in another really, really good performance and you're outdone by a moment of madness, you can sort of understand why the confidence would drop. You can sort of understand why the lads would go, well, what's the point? Because even when we put all the work in, we're still, outdone by a moment of craziness, by a moment of pure, luck, if you like. But that really, really was a turning point for the worst in my season, and that was why it is. I think it's the top of the downs list for a lot of people, not just me. If you've got a, if you think otherwise, let me know in the comment section below. But like I said, don't want to go in too much on that game, because we've already spoke about it far too much. And listen, I don't want to speak about it, to be honest with you, because it was a shocking result after we played really, really well at Anfield, and I haven't seen us play that well at Anfield in years. I'm just going to take a new sip of this Coke energy drink thing. Listen, I was going to say it's definitely not sponsored, because it's shit, to be honest. It tastes like shit. If you see it in the shops, I wouldn't bother paying you money to buy one. I'd just get a normal energy drink if you want one of them, because that's horrible, to be perfectly honest with you. But anyway, I digress. Going on to the second down now, like I said, we've got that one out the way. It was a negative point in our season, really, wasn't it? It turned the form from, really, really good, really, really positive, challenging the top sides, beating all the sides around us, to, not even challenging against the sides around us and being quite heavily beaten by the top sides as well. So on to my second down for the season, negative for the season, if you like. And that for me is the lack of striker. Now, I don't want to disrespect Cenk Tosun. I definitely don't want to disrespect Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think the job that Dominic Calvert-Lewin done when he come in towards the end of the season was absolutely fantastic. He was amazing. He done exactly what he needs to do. He sat in between the two centre-halves. He worked his absolute bollocks off. And he made sure that those two centre-halves never had a break. From the first minute to the last minute, he ran round. He ran after every ball. Even if it was a dead ball, he'd chase it. And I think he epitomised what it meant to be an Evertonian, what it meant to wear that shirt. He gave it 110% every single week. And yes, he wasn't always on the scoreboard. Yes, he wasn't always directly involved in goals. But he done what he needed to do. He worked really, really hard. But I think the sort of underlying issue with Dom was, and I think a lot of fans got onto this during that period, was, yeah, okay, you're playing absolutely fantastic, you're working your bollocks off, which is all we can ask, you're being a nuisance to the centre-half, fair enough, but you're not really contributing in front of goal enough. When you're getting those opportunities, you're not taking them. When there's an opportunity to get into a dangerous position, you're not seeing it. And that was the sort of underlying issue with Dom. And like I said, I don't want to go too much into it because I think he was absolutely fantastic in that period of time that he was called upon. But I think that was the sort of the issue when he come in. And of course, the issue we had before Dom come in was that Richarlison was playing up there. Okay, done well in times, but it was quite clear that he wasn't going to be utilised, as he should be, playing as a striker. And then obviously we had Cenk Tosun up there at the start of the season, and it became quite clear sort of within the first few games that Cenk played that he just wasn't suited to Marco Silva's style of play. He wasn't suited to how Marco Silva wants to play and wants these lads to play, and it didn't really work for Cenk Tosun, and it hasn't really worked for Cenk Tosun. So I think for me the second down is the lack of striker, the fact that we didn't have a constant goal scorer, or I should have put goal scorer really rather than striker. A lack of goal scorer, the fact we didn't have somebody that's there week in, week out, even in the tough times when a game looks like it's going to ride out to a 0-0, getting the goals in the last second, See in the Palace game towards the end of the season, where if we'd have won that, we could have possibly finished in a European place. We could have finished 7th and got in that Europa League, but we didn't have that striker to get there and get that goal in the the toughest of circumstances. You see the top sides, not just in England but in the world, that even when they're on their off days, even when they're not playing really, really well, even when the opposition side's having an absolute belter of a game, they've always got that one player, that one striker who will nick them a goal and win them the game of football, and you can go phew. And that's what you win leagues with, basically. Very rarely do you see a team go out and smash 38 38 games a season and beat a team twice every single season and go and win the league easily. There's always a couple of games in there where it's a struggle, where it's hard, where you've got to dig deep, and we haven't got that striker that gets that goal when you really, really need it. And that's, for me, was a massive down for this season, is that we didn't bring in a striker that could do that. Now again, that's not me having a go at Marco Silva, that's not me having a go at Marcel Brands. They weren't to know that Cenk Tosun wasn't going to, get his head down and score 15 to 20 goals this season. They weren't to know that wasn't going to happen. Cenk ended the season before, should I say, in fantastic form, scoring goals consistently, getting different types of goals, getting in the right positions. And, like I said, and I keep stressing this, the transfer window last summer finished before the first Premier League game of the season. So Marco Silva hadn't had any time to see Cenk Tosun against the Premier League side. He hadn't had any time to see Cenk Tosun again in this league, for him to know that he wasn't good enough, for him to know that he wasn't going to be able to cut it for the season. Likewise with Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Dom come in, obviously wasn't Marco Silva's first choice from the start of the season, come in and done an absolutely fantastic job when he needed to, and I really, really hope that Dominic Calvert-Lewin continues to work on himself and continues to work on his game, and hopefully between next year or the year after, we've got a striker there that can be our number 9. Dom, I think we all agree, needs to work on his finishing. He needs to get his head down and work on his lethalness, that's not a word, is it? Is basically his ability in front of goal and putting the ball in the back of the net, and not just putting the ball in the back of the net when he gets the opportunities, but creating the opportunities for himself, getting in those right positions, because I don't think he'd done enough of it last season. Absolutely unbelievable at holding the ball up, unbelievable at getting the ball out the air, winning headers. Work rate, you can't fault it. Like I said, being a nuisance to centre half, you can't fault it. But for me, just getting in that right position at the right time, Dom didn't do enough of last season, and that's what we massively missed. Even Richarlison, who I've been a massive admirer of this season, and I've said on multiple occasions, he's a player that is constantly in the right place at the right time. Even him at times, when he played striker on his own, he wasn't finding himself in those positions at all. So that for me, again, was another negative for the season, the lack of goal scorer, the lack of striker. But I fully expect Marco Silva and Marcel Brands to rectify that issue in the summer going into next season. Alex says, Gomez to West Ham. It's never happening, mate, it's never happening. I know they put some sort of bid in or something, but I dare say Barcelona are just using them to string along, basically just saying, yeah, do you want him? And they've gone, yeah, 18 million. They've gone, fuck off, lad, no chance, mate. He's not going to West Ham. He's not going to West Ham. Anyway, Moving on to our third down for the season. One of the biggest for me and one of the ones that I stressed the most, I think, throughout this Premier League season, and that was the inconsistency. Now, I don't just mean the inconsistency in results, I don't just mean the inconsistency in performances, I mean the inconsistency in the team selection, in the, the months where it was tough, in the, in December, in January, the inconsistency in the substitutions, and just the inconsistency overall throughout the football club. And I stressed that a lot at the time. I felt that Marco Silva wasn't quite nailing down, a specific starting 11. He wasn't quite nailing down, a specific set of tactics. He wasn't quite nailing down, right, these are the players that start the game. These are the players that come on if we need a goal. These are the players that come on if we need to just shore the game out and make sure we keep it tight. These are the players that come on if we need to defend for our lives. I don't think he had that sort of that mindset towards the start of the season, or rather when it got a little bit hard after that Merseyside derby defeat. Again, this runs throughout the whole season. Yes, you could say he's worked on the substitutions, during the 17-day break, which is something we'll talk about later on. Yes, you could say he worked on the team selection after that 17-day break, once he found that Bernard on the left, Richarlison on the right, and Dominic Calvert-Lewin up front worked. Yes, you could say that, but I think even on the performances side of it, even on the results side of it, you could still say that going towards the end of the season, the loss to Fulham, again, a massively inconsistent performance, considering we beat Man United 4-0 the week after, and I think we beat Arsenal 1-0 at home the week before, going to Craven Cottage, a side that were already relegated, a side that on paper we should have just, took care of. We should have just won the game of football and made sure we solidified our chance to, get in the Europa League. We didn't, again. Whether it was naivety, whether it was arrogance, I don't know, but the lads were, again, inconsistent, and like I said, that's a word that sort of lingers in my mind when I think about this Premier League season. I think about all the positives, I think about the fantastic end of the season, but if somebody says, okay, give me a negative for the season, I sort of do just think, well, the inconsistency, the fact that we had about 7 captains at one point in the first 4 months of the season, players like Tom Davies, who I absolutely love, and I hope he is an Everton captain going forward, but should he realistically be wearing the armband if he's going to be in and out the team constantly? That was the issue for me throughout a lot of the early days of the Premier League season, and like I said, it sort of crept up again towards the end, even though we were in really, really good form, even though it was clear Marco Silva had improved his defensive tactics, he's improved the zonal marking, he'd improved the inconsistency around the team selection. There was still some inconsistency issues around the results and around the performances, and again, that's something that I fully expect Marco Silva to rectify throughout the summer, going into pre-season, and of course going into the Premier League season next season, because realistically, if we want to be a side that's challenging for the top 6, if we want to be a side that's constantly, in the race, or even in the race for the top 4 in the next couple of years, we can't be being beaten by, Fulham away from home. We can't be not winning the game against Crystal Palace when we had so many opportunities, when we had so much possession, when we had the opportunities knocking. We can't be doing that. We need to be keeping that consistency, and that's something that we had at times in the early games of the season when we were beating the teams we should have been beating, the West Hams, the Cardiffs, the Fulhams at home, the Crystal Palace, but then, like I said, after that derby defeat, it sort of went for a turn to its worst end, and that's when you started to see a little bit of panic. So for me, inconsistency is another one that I think a lot of us will have looked back at the end of the season and gone, you know what, fair enough, that probably needs to be resolved going into next season. 4th out of 5 downs. The 4th one is the poor Christmas period. Now, I spoke about this on Toffee TV with Baz and Ped, speaking about the season, speaking about the ups and downs. I spoke about the poor Christmas period, and I wanted to bring it into this team because I think it's something that you sort of, when you're looking back at the Premier League season as an Evertonian for last season, you're sort of sitting there and you're going, okay, we started well, we had a dip in the middle, and then we ended poorly. But when you sort of think, right, okay, let's delve into that dip in the middle, I know a lot of Evertonians will be sitting there going, I don't even want to think about the Christmas period, I don't want to think about the derby, I don't want to think about the poor performances, I just want to put that away in a box, stick it there and go, right, forget about it, we ended the season well, let's move on positively. And in a lot of ways, I want to do that as well. I want to just go, whatever, forget about it, let's move on, because there's a lot to be excited about being an Evertonian going forward. The last 4, 5, 6 games of the season proved that, but I think when you actually step back and you look at the Christmas period and you think, well, why were we so poor? Why, did the derby have such an effect on us? I think it's quite easy to see, listen, there's no secret that we played a stupid amount of games in a stupid amount of time during that Christmas period. I think we were having 2 days break between, games. We were having 3 games a week at some periods. Other sides that we may argue Sky have an agenda with, like Liverpool, let's say, had a 10-day break at one point, whereas was a 3-day break. But anyway, we won't go into that. But like, there's no hiding the fact that that period was really, really tough for the fans, for the players, sorry, and the squad and Marco Silva. It was always going to be tough for the players and Marco Silva because they were playing a lot of competitive games of football at a tough time. We had the Merseyside derby in there. We had some really, really tough home games. We had some tough away games. You know, we had Spurs, who again, top team at Goodison Park. It was no surprise that playing all of those games with very little rest was going to affect the squad. And I think that's something Marco Silva really has to look at going into next season, because it's going to be the same next season. We are likely to again only have a couple of days break during that December period, January period next season, because that's how Sky tend to fuck us over, because they don't give a shit about Everton Football Club. And I think it's something that Marco Silva needs to look at, and he needs to go, right, okay, how can I make sure that we don't fall into a bad run of form again next season? And you might think, well, the derby defeat isn't unlikely to happen because we're not likely to lose a game of football like that, but I don't just want to put all the blame on the derby defeat. Yes, the derby defeat had a massive effect on the players' confidence. Yes, it had a massive effect on, obviously, the results going forward, but I don't want to just put it all on that and say that was the reason why we were so shit for 2 months after the derby, and, you know, we can forget about that now, whatever, because I don't think it was. I do think Marco Silva and the lads struggled to keep up with that Christmas period. I think they struggled to keep up the good run of form, and they struggled to keep up their confidence as well. Derby defeat, you know, aside, disregarding the derby defeat, we need to be a lot better at making sure that we can keep our fitness, keep our stamina, and keep the team spirit throughout that tough period of football, because it really is. December, January, and, you know, middle of February is always sort of a tough time for any football club in this league, because you're playing football constantly, you're playing competitive games, at least 2 games a week during that period of time, and, you know, it is tough. It really is tough. And I know there's the age-old argument of, oh, these are players on 150, 160 grand a week, they should be able to play 2 games of football a week, and yet they should, because, you know, as a kid, I was going to say in the prime of my fitness then, but I definitely wasn't anywhere near as fit as these lads are, but as a kid, when I was, you know, not a fat bastard, basically, I could run around the footy pitch for 90 minutes every single night. So when you look at it that way, yes, there isn't an excuse, but realistically, you have to be a little bit, you know, sympathetic. You have to have a little bit of sympathy and go, you know what, the lads are running their asses off week in, week out, and you know, it's clearly affecting them. And I think one of the key issues was during that period of time was the lads didn't seem to be running their asses off week in, week out, and that's why a lot of fans got on the back during that. But I definitely think it's something Marco Silva needs to look at. It's something the lads need to look at going into next season, is how we approach that Christmas period, how we look at that Christmas period in August, in September, and we go, right, okay, this is how we're going to approach December, this is how we're going to approach January, because we play an awful load of games in a short period of time, so this is how we're going to approach it. And, you know, I think that's something that we struggled with last season, and we really need to look at going into next season. It'll help if we bring some players in for the squad, because then you've got a, you know, more options throughout the squad. If a player gets injured, you don't have to, you know, well, you do have to worry obviously, but you can bring somebody in that can directly replace them. I think that was another big issue during that Christmas period, is that, you know, if we had any injuries, if we had any fitness issues, we didn't really have anybody to step in and do that job. You know, Marco Silva struggled to bring in players and take out other players. He wanted to keep that, you know, that squad how it was, and that ended up working towards the end of the season when we had that starting 11. But when he was chopping and changing, you know, bringing players in that had hardly played this season and expecting them to sort of be able to get us results, that was the issue that, you know, we had during that period of time. So anyway, that was the fourth negative, the poor Christmas period, and how we need to work on that going into next season. The fifth and final one that I want to talk about today, before we can finally go into the positives and put a smile on our face and talk about how boss Everton were at times during the season. The final one is the cut run. Now listen, I'm not going to lie, I was sitting here and I was thinking, what's a final damn? What's a final negative that I can talk about on stream? What's another thing that really pissed me off during the season? And I thought, well, you know what, the Millwall game. But I didn't just want to highlight the game in specific, so I thought, well, realistically, the cut runs, both cut runs. So we had obviously the Carabao cut run that come to an end when we lost to Southampton on penalties. I was going to say famous, but not really famous, but sort of sticks in Evertonians' minds as the game where, you know, Marco Silva brought Martin Stekelenburg in when he really didn't need to, when Jordan Pickford was more than fit enough, Jordan Pickford was more than able to compete. A game where, you know, we totally changed the side, and it didn't work, because the players weren't ready, the players weren't confident, some could argue they weren't good enough, and, you know, we ended up losing that game of football on penalties, and the penalties were shocking. And then obviously the FA Cup run, which seen us be defeated at Millwall to 3 absolutely shocking goals to concede, 3 balls into the box, and again the issues surrounding sort of zonal marking and all that sort of stuff crept in. So like I said, I didn't want to talk just about the Millwall game or just about the Southampton game in specifics. I wanted to talk about the cut runs in itself, and this is something that I think a lot of Evertonians will stress to Marco Silva. If you sat in a room with Marco Silva now and he said, right, what do you want from me next season, aside from signing a striker, aside from signing Gomez and Zuma, aside from battling Liverpool and Anfield, what do you want from me next season? I think if you sat back and you went, what do we want from Marco Silva and the lads next season, a lot of Evertonians would think, well, we want a decent cut run. We want to be able to say that if we've gone out the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, we've gone out, you know, in a positive note. We've gone out having played our full starting 11 and having battled for it, not gone out having brought in 8 players that have hardly played football before that aren't good enough to compete with the Premier League side, not going out after conceding 3 stupid goals because we can't defend. I think we want to be sitting here going, we want a decent cut run. And if we, you know, you look at the cut runs that we had, and you look at the sides Millwall faced after they knocked us out, you look at the sides Southampton faced after they knocked us out, we could have gotten to Wembley this season. We could have quite easily gotten into the semi-final or the final of the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup, and who knows what happens then. And all of a sudden you're sitting here and you're thinking, well, let's put it retrospectively, and know it's all ifs, buts and maybes, but if we'd have carried on the cut run and we'd have played the correct side, if Marco Silva had put that side out, put them tactics out, let's say we finished 8th in the Premier League and won the FA Cup, you'd all be absolutely fucking made up. We'd have a European place, we'd have a European place secured and would have won the FA Cup. Boss season for Everton Football Club, but we didn't. He didn't prioritise those games of football, and it's understandable to an extent as to why he's thinking, well, I want to prioritise the Premier League, I want to really go for a fight against the top 6, I want to try and break into that, I want to try and solidify our place in the Premier League. I'm not really too bothered about the cup run, but that can't be a thing, you know, being the manager of Everton Football Club. That can't be. If you are anybody in the side, if you are anybody in the management, if you're anybody in the training staff, and you think that the cups aren't important to our football club, then you're massively wrong, and you need sitting down and told a lesson by a legend of the club, aka Tim Cahill or a Duncan Ferguson or whatever. It doesn't matter, because we haven't won a cup in 20 odd years. I haven't seen Everton Football Club win a cup. I'm 20 years old and I haven't seen Everton Football Club win any sort of trophy in my lifetime. Now that for me, it makes me sad every single day, but regardless of that, it makes you even more frustrated when you see us compete in these cup competitions year in year out, and you see managers, you know, playing players that you know aren't good enough, bringing in goalkeepers that you know couldn't save a penalty if you know you poised it to them, couldn't perform in a game of football if you know they really wanted to. You don't want to see that, especially coming from, you know, a fan of Everton Football Club. You want to see Marco Silva playing that is best starting 11. Just, even if it's against Lincoln, if it's against fucking Derby, if it's against Man United, you want to see the best starting 11 starting in these cup competitions, because we aren't a club that can afford to say we'll disregard them, won't worry about the cup competitions, let's fight for the top 6, let's fight for the top 4. Because if we were an Arsenal or a Liverpool or a City and we done that, and you think, well, okay, we've disregarded the cups, but let's be honest, we're going to fight for the Premier League or we're going to fight for the Champions League this season, you think, fair enough, but we're not in that position at all, where, yes, it's a high possibility we could break into that top 6 next season, but we're on the Europa League, so we can't win that, we're on the Champions League, so we can't win that, and I want to be as optimistic as everybody else. I'm a massive Evertonian, I'd love to see it, but being realistic, I don't think we're going to challenge for the Premier League either. So that is the last down for me for this season, and again, another massive learning curve for Marco Silva going into next season is please prioritise the Carabao Cup and the FA Cup. Put your best side out if they're fit, put the best players out, make sure that you are putting a team out that can beat the opposition. If it's Lincoln, yes, okay, you can afford to bring in a couple of players that, you know, mightn't necessarily start the Premier League game, but if you are playing Premier League opposition, Jordan Pickford must start. If we sign Gomez must start, the best players must start, so we can win that game of football and we can have a really decent cut run. And that's something that I really want going into next season, is a decent cut run. So anyway, now that the negatives are out the way, we can go on to talking about the positives. Finally, we can go on, ending the ups and downs video on a positive, as we've ended the season on a positive as well. I'm just going to go into the live comments before we do that. Tail says Everton should make a loan offer for Andres Pereira from Manchester United. I think he's an alright player. Don't know whether he'd fit into our system. Don't know whether he'd get into our team, to be honest. But I think he's a decent player. He's a decent player, and he's a player that's probably going to leave Manchester United this summer as well. Luke says, do you think the aftermath of the derby would have been as bad or more bearable if we were 1-0 up when Pickford made that mistake? Definitely more bearable, and definitely not as bad. The excitement of winning a Merseyside derby and losing 2 points in the last second would have killed Evertonians and would have killed the team for few days afterwards, but it wouldn't have had the effect that it had on the lads if we'd have got a point out of that game of football. I think it'd have been a lot more positive. And Luke says, would you rather have Depay or Werner? Personally, I'd rather have Timo Werner. I think he's an absolutely fantastic striker. It's a position that we desperately need, and I'm not too fussed on Memphis Depay, to be honest. I've seen him in this league before. He didn't blow me skater when he was here, and I think he's got potential attitude problems as well. So anyway, we'll go into talking about the ups and now. If you are enjoying this team so far, please do leave a like. It really does mean a massive amount to me, and if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Again, that really means a lot to me. So anyway, the first up, we're going to go straight into it anyway. The first up I want to talk about is Lucas Digne. The signing of Lucas Digne. £18 million this lad cost. Let me just come close and repeat that. £18 million. Put that into perspective. Jordan Ibe cost something like £20 million. Dominic what's-his-face, who played for Liverpool, I forgot his name, he's that irrelevant. He cost Bournemouth £20-odd million. Solanke, that's it. Dominic Solanke, £20-odd million. Lucas Digne, £18 million. If that's not the best bit of business you've seen as an Evertonian in the last 5 years, I don't know what is. The lad come in, he's been absolutely fantastic. He's filled that role that we needed to fill. And listen, we've spoken about him on many a stream before. He won the Players Player of the Year. He won the Player of the Year. The love I've given for Lucas Digne over these last few months on this channel is it's absolutely unbelievable. Some would say that I've fallen in love with him, and some would think that I've got a massive poster on my wall behind here that I just stare at every time I stream. I don't, but I might have to get one of them for next season. But £18 million this lad cost. We knew we needed the left back going into this season. We knew that Leighton Baines, yes, okay, he's got the quality, yes, he's got the talent, but has he got the stamina? Has he got the fitness to be able to do 38 games a season? We seen by the season before that he was struggling. We seen by the season before that he was getting injuries constantly. We knew realistically, even if we didn't want to admit it, that Leighton Baines wasn't going to be able to compete in every single Premier League game this season. Marcel Brands was tasked with the task of bringing in a left back that can play 30 odd games a Premier League season, and if needed, Leighton Baines can come in and play the rest. He's done it with one. He spent £18 million and he's brought in who for me is the best left back in the country. Now you might say I'm biased, you might say I'm bitter, you might say I don't want to admit it's somebody else, but for me he is the best left back in the country. That's my opinion. I don't really care. He is the best left back in this country. He's absolutely unbelievable for a player that's never played in this league before. Never played in this country before. He's fit right into the Premier League and he's been absolutely unbelievable for us. He is like a prime Leighton Baines. He's up and down the wing constantly. He's providing assists for the attackers. He's providing attacking threat as well as providing defensive duties as well. He's performing fantastically defensively and he's performing going up top as well. Not to mention the fact that he can hit the ball from anywhere. His goal against Manchester United, unreal. His goals against Burnley, unreal. His free kicks this season. He just reminds me of a prime Leighton Baines. He really does. And I think the lad is absolutely fantastic. And for me, he's one of our biggest ups this season. He's a player that's come in. We knew we massively needed to fill that left back place. We knew we needed to bring in a player that's got the quality, got the talent that Leighton Baines had in his prime. And we knew, of course, you don't realistically want to be spending 50-60 million on a left back. Marcel Brands has been given £20 million and he's gone and hit it in one. And we've got a left back now for the next 5 or 6 years. That's going to be absolutely unbelievable for Everton Football Club. So for me, Lucas Digne is one of our biggest ups this season. Like I said, if you want to see any or hear any more Lucas Digne love from me, just go back and watch the last 10 streams. You'll hear it all there. If you're not enjoying the stream so far, please do leave a like, by the way. It really does mean a massive amount to me. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe. Going into the second positive now, the second up for me, it is the siren. Listen, the siren, the Tony Bellew entrance, the Z-Cars / siren entrance, whatever you want to call it. Everton Football Club, those 11 players walking out to the Tony Bellew rendition of Z-Cars, to the massive World War II siren against Liverpool at Goodison Park in a Merseyside derby, was one of the biggest positives for me all season. Not just because the club have listened to the fans, not just because the club have listened to the originals and created that atmospherical, feeling that we needed at Goodison Park, not just because it got every single person inside Goodison Park on their feet, but because of the effect that it had on those 11 lads on the pitch. We were going into a tough game of football here. We were going into not only a Merseyside derby, we were playing a Liverpool side that were fighting for the league. We were playing a Liverpool side that, had just got a scrappy, horrible win against us 2 months before. Whoever at Everton Football Club decided to, have a meeting with the originals and play that signing, absolutely hats off to you. You deserve a massive, massive pay rise. It got every single one of the fans up on their feet, screaming, roaring the team on, and it gave their lads that bunch of confidence as well. It made them want to put that extra bit of effort in. It made them want to fight for that badge, put that honourable tackle in. It made Michael Keane throw that last-ditch tackle in against Mo Salah to stop them winning the league. It made Jordan Pickford make that save from Mo Salah to stop them winning the league, and it gave us a boost of confidence. And not just the Merseyside derby, listen. If we were talking about the signing and we said, okay, give the lads a boost on the Merseyside derby, but then we used it in the next 3 games afterwards and we were shite. We didn't concede a goal at Goodison since that game. We haven't conceded a goal at Goodison since we were beaten by City 2-0, and that was before the Merseyside derby. It clearly has an effect on the players, whether we're playing Burnley, whether we're playing Liverpool, whether we're playing Arsenal. It clearly has an effect on the players because it has an effect on the fans. And we've been sitting here all through the season. We were sitting here last season when we had Sam Allardyce, when we had Ronald Koeman, we were saying, how do we improve the atmosphere at Goodison Park? How do we get the fans more involved? How do we create that bond, create that rapport, create that relationship between the players and the fans? We need to create an atmosphere. We done it with that signing, the club done it with that signing. We then continue to use it week in, week out, and we were continuing to get results. We were seeing the players were continuing to put shifts in. Don't forget, we played Chelsea after the Merseyside derby, we played Arsenal after the Merseyside derby, we played United, and we absolutely battered every single one of them. The lads, and again, I'll say this, and I'll say this with the deepest of emotion in my heart, we did not just get that result against United, Chelsea and Arsenal. We did not just put in a one-off decent performance. We battered those sides off that football pitch as if they shouldn't have even been allowed on the pitch, as if they weren't even worthy to compete on the same football pitch as Everton Football Club. And at half-time in the United game, when we were beating them, you were all sitting back going, this is just what we do. We were all sitting back going, this is Everton, innit? We just twat teams like this at home. We just beat them. We're boss. We're their boss. We are. And that is the sort of feeling that you want at Goodison Park. Those are the sort of results you need. And for me, it's massively down to using that signing. It's massively down to the intimidation that signing brings. It's massively down to the boost that signing brings, not just to the fans, but to the players as well. Again, when you hear a war signing, it signifies so many things. It signifies that the lads are going to war, that, there's no holding back. You've got to give your 110%. You've got to fight for your own pride, for your own club. You've got to give everything. And it massively intimidates away support. You've seen that against Liverpool at Goodison Park. You've seen their away support absolutely silent throughout the entire game. Embarrassing. You've seen it again going forward when we were playing the other top 6 sides. You've seen it again even when we were playing the sides that, realistically we should be beating, your Burnleys, etc. We were getting results because we were using that side, and it was giving the players a massive boost, and it was giving the fans a massive boost. And it finally feels like we've created that relationship between the fans and the players once again at Goodison Park, and I cannot wait to be back there in the summer. I cannot wait to be back there next season, hearing that signing again and seeing the lads giving it 110% once again. Next positive for the season is the 17-day break. Now again, I'm not going to go into too much detail on the 17-day break. Purely, I think it's one of the biggest ups just because it gives Marco Silva and the lads time to sit back, reflect on where they'd been going wrong and change. Seamus Coleman obviously was recently interviewed by Baz at Toffee TV, and he said, listen, it gave us time to sit back, have a couple of days away with our family, sort out any things that we had going on in our personal life and work hard on the training ground. And I think as well as it give the players that time to do that, it also gives the manager the time to sit back and go, what's not working here? And I think it's very clear. Listen, it'd be cliche for me to say, and we improved after that break, but I think when you delve into it, it's very clear to see we improved defensively. After that, we only really had the Newcastle defeat, which was a strange game in itself, and the Palace defeat. We improved massively defensively. We improved massively going forward. Marco Silva found us consistent starting 11. We were keeping clean sheets constantly. He found us consistent centre halves. He found Zuma and Keane were the centre half to use. He found Bernard, Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin were the front three we needed to play as well. He found that during that 17-day break, and it allowed him to step back and go, right, this isn't working here. I dare say he was probably informed that fans, were getting on his back. Fans were becoming irate. Fans were becoming annoyed with the performance, becoming annoyed with the results. And he sat back and he's gone, right, I need to make a change here. Unlike some previous Everton managers, who I'm not going to name names, but that were lazy and didn't give a shit about the football club, he actually sat back and went, I really care about this club. I really care about my job. How do I improve this? I dare say he let the lads have a couple of days break. He got them back and he said, right, this doesn't carry on. We need to start performing to the best of our ability. We need to start getting results against these sides. We come back off, obviously after that 17-day break, and we obliterated sides. We beat Cardiff 3-0 away from home. A tough game of football. A game of football that, you know, wasn't going to be an easy win. They were fighting relegation at the time. Obviously, we played Liverpool, got a really, really good result there. Battered United, battered Chelsea, battered Arsenal, beat Burnley last game of the season. And like I said, other than last home game of the season, and like I said, other than the shock loss to Newcastle, which again, you could put down to the inconsistency, other than the shock loss to Fulham, that again you could put down to the inconsistency, naivety and arrogance of the side. We really, really did see a change after that 17-day break, and that was for me why it deserves to be in one of my top 5 ups. Again, next one, going on now to the 4th penultimate up for me of the season, was the 4-0 victory against Manchester United. Now, like I said, I didn't just want to pick specific games, and I decided not to pick specific games, but I think it's really, really tough to not pick this game out when you're talking about the ups of the season, not only because we'd battered Manchester United 4-0, not only because we'd made world-class players like Paul Pogba and Anthony Martial look, let's be honest, what they are, decent footballers, but not all that good, but it was the way in which we beat Manchester United. Like I said, we've beaten top 6 sides before. I've seen Everton in previous years under Moyes, under Martinez, under Koeman, under even not under Allardyce, no, but I've seen Everton go out there and beat top 6 sides. I've seen Everton beat Manchester City 4-0. I've seen Everton beat Arsenal 3-0. I've seen Everton beat Chelsea 3-0. But it was the way in which we won this game of football. It felt different. It wasn't just a one-off game where we turned up and United were really, really bad and we were really, really good and we'd got the result. It wasn't a game that would come away with a result and you go, yes, that's unbelievable, but when you look at it, they maybe could have got a result as well. We went out there and for the 3rd consecutive top 6 side we'd faced, we played them off the park. They weren't worthy to stay on that pitch with the likes of Richarlison, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Bernard. Paul Pogba can piss right off because he didn't have the fucking ability to clean a Disaganage's boots on that day. None at all. And we were sitting there in the stadium, every single one of us, we were sitting there at home watching that game and you were going, do you know what? We are just boss. And if we can continue this run of form going into next season against the top 6 sides and we can add it to the away form as well, we're going to be a force to reckon with next season. We played them off the park. They didn't have one opportunity. And although the media will want you to sit there and they'll want to tell you that United were really, really poor, they weren't. We were just bossing. They had nothing for us. Even if United were at the best of their ability, we'd have still beat them on that day. It mightn't have been 4-0, but we'd have still beat them. And that for me, why it deserves to be in itself a top one of the ups for this season. It wasn't the result. It wasn't just the fact that we come away with the 3 points. It was the performance. It was how easy it was. It was how convincing it was that we went out there and we just bing, bash, bosh, done our thing, won the game, come off. Easy as that. And you're sort of sitting there going, I think that was one of the games, as well as the Arsenal, as well as the Chelsea game, but I think that was one of the key games where you're sort of sitting there going, you can see what Marco Silva's trying to build here, despite the fact that at times in the season it's been inconsistent, despite the fact that at times in the season it hasn't been good enough. You can really see what he's going for here. You can see what he's trying to build, and if we can bring in a striker, if we can bring in another centre-half, if we can bring in another central midfielder, hopefully we can, mould the team a little bit more together. We can have another year, we can have a full pre-season, we can see how good this team can be, and that for me is why it deserves to be in the ups for this season. Once again, let me know all your ups and downs for this season. Give me 5 ups and 5 downs, your opinions on the 2018-19 Premier League season. If you're watching in the live comments, don't forget to put them there, and if you're watching the YouTube video afterwards, please do leave them below. I'll be replying to them all night. If you haven't already, please do leave a like as well. It really, really does mean a massive amount to me. Before we go on to the final positive, just want to read out some of the live comments here. Kevin says, hi Cam, hope you're okay, pal. Do you think we will get Gomez? What about Welbeck? I'm not too bad, Kevin. I hope you are doing well yourself. I'm okay-ish. I've got a little bit of a cold/flu at the minute, so I'm struggling a little bit, but I'll be fine. I hope you're doing well. I think we'll get Gomez, to be honest. I think Barcelona are playing the Yerry Mina game. They're going to wait it out for a while. They're going to try and budge us for as much money as they can, but I do think we'll sign him. And I don't want Danny Welbeck. Too inconsistent, too injury prone, and even when he's at his height of fitness, he's still not good enough to be the striker that we need. So personally, I wouldn't take him. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. So anyway, going on to the final up for the Premier League season. It is the results versus the top 6. Now again, I didn't want to split this. I didn't want to say Tottenham's draw, United's win, Arsenal win, Chelsea win. I didn't want to split it. I wanted to put them all together, and I excluded the United game because I think it was a game that we all sort of sat there and went, right, this is a benchmark now. This is the pinpoint of our season, the best game of our season, I think, for a lot of Evertonians. But the results against the top 6 overall, even in earlier part of the season when we weren't getting a draw, when we weren't winning those games of football, the performances against those sides. Listen, obviously, we've got the result against Arsenal at Goodison Park, the performance against Arsenal at Goodison Park, the result and the performance against Chelsea at Goodison Park, the result against Manchester United at Goodison Park, the result against Spurs away from home. But I want to talk about the game against Manchester United at Goodison, at Old Trafford. I want to talk about the game against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. I want to talk not too much about the game against Spurs at Goodison Park. I want to talk about the game against Manchester City at Goodison Park as well, because although we were beaten against Arsenal, we only drew with Chelsea at Stamford Bridge, we were beaten against City at Goodison Park, the performances were a lot better, and they were a lot more motivating than some of the games that were played in previous years against the top six. Listen, we went to Arsenal, we went to Manchester United, and we were beaten by Arsenal by 2-0. One of the goals was about 35 yards offside, and very clear that the referee and the linesman had an agenda against Everton Football Club. But we had 3 opportunities in the first 10 minutes of that game to be 3-0 up. And on another day, we could have been 3-0. Dominic Calvert-Lewin has one within the first 10 seconds and decides to try and round the keeper when realistically he should have just dinked it over him. Theo Walcott has one. He lets his nerves get to him because he's playing his former club. Against Manchester United, of course, we were beaten by a blatant dive in the box by Anthony Martial to give away a penalty. Again, the performances against these sides, against City at Goodison Park, we were beaten by 2 last-minute goals, one at the end of the first half, one at the end of the second half, despite the fact that we played really well in these games. And I'm not saying that we compare to Manchester City, I'm not saying we're at the level of Arsenal yet, but it's very clear to see that these sides have one thing that Everton don't have. Arsenal have got Lacazette and Aubameyang, City have got Aguero and Gabriel Jesus, and Manchester United have still got talent in Anthony Martial up top as well. We don't have that. Imagine how good we can be if we do have that. If we can have that 20-25 goal a season stagger, we can have our own Alexander Lacazette, and we can go to these teams and we can put in the type of performance that we've done. We can create 3 one-on-one opportunities in the first 10 minutes. Who knows, on a different day we could have been 3-0 up and that would have been that game over. But again, not just talking about those games where we played well but didn't get a result, talking about the games at Goodison Park. We were all sitting there and we were all going, okay, we haven't won the game of football. You can sit here and go, well, we played well, but realistically it's all about the game, the result at the end of the day, and we didn't get anything out of those games. We really need to, make it up by beating Arsenal, beating Chelsea, beating United at Goodison Park. And what did we do? We done exactly that. We absolutely battered those teams. We obliterated those teams, and we've spoken about them in previous teams, so I'm not going to go too much into those 3 games. Like I said, we've just spoken about the United game, but specifically I want to talk about the Spurs game as well, last game of the season. Now, last game of the season against Spurs gets a lot of sort of from what I've heard from other fans, fans of other clubs, is, well, they didn't have a strong side out. They're focused on the Champions League final. Well, okay, fair enough, maybe they are. Yes, they didn't have Kane out in there, but they wouldn't anyway because he's injured. Yes, they might have had Son in there because he might have been carrying an injury or suspended. Yes, they might have had Dele Alli in there. Whatever, doesn't matter. We had 3 key players out as well. We had Seamus Coleman, who was the club captain and was in really good form at that point out. We had Richarlison, who was the highest goal scorer and our biggest threat in front of goal out. And we had Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who is our most pain in the arse player, if you like, who sits in between those centre-halves and creates an issue and creates space for Bernard and Richarlison to get in behind. We still went to Spurs, a Spurs side with Lucas Moura, who just got them to the Champions League final by scoring a hat-trick in the week prior. A Spurs side with Christian Eriksen, one of the best in the game. A Spurs side with Eric Dyer, who, whether you think he's good or not, is a World Cup player, World Cup footballer, international. And we still went there and we could have won that game of football. We were 2-1 up. And we conceded the stupid free kick, and they ended up scoring from it because we conceded the stupid free kick on the edge of the box, knowing full well that they had one of the best free kick takers in the Premier League in their side, ready to put that in the back of the net. And that's the sort of game where you think, well, you know what, you can't really be annoyed because we've gone to a Champions League finalist and we've taken a point away from them. But on the other hand, can you really be annoyed because we should have won the game of football? And that was what I take from that game. We're sitting back now as Evertonians when we're playing these top 6 sides and we're going, well, I'm a little bit frustrated there because we didn't get that win against Spurs away from home. In previous years, we'd be saying, well, I'm a little bit frustrated there because, we were beating sort of 5-0 when realistically I thought we could only be beating 3-0. we're going into these games of football and we're not just thinking we could win on paper, we're having serious chances to win these games of football, and that's where the disappointment's creeping in, is that we're not keeping a lead against Spurs away from home. We're not finishing our chances against Arsenal away from home. That's why if Marco Silva and Marcel Brands can work on that going into next season, if we can bring in a striker, if we can work on the defence and we can keep that a little bit tight, if we can work on the midfield, who knows the results that we can get next season for me. And that was why the results against the top six, not just at the end of the season but at the start of the season as well, had a massive effect for me. So anyway, there are my 5 ups and 5 downs for the 2018-19 Premier League season. Let me know yours in the comments section down below. If you're watching as a YouTube video, leave them in the comments. I'll be reading through the comments and replying to them all night. I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. Alex says Gomez or Zuma. I think Zuma's more important at the minute, if I'm being perfectly honest. However, I'd really like us to sign both of them. But anyway, that's going to do it for today's stream. Please do leave a like if you have enjoyed. If you haven't already, please do subscribe. We're like 13 subscribers away from 500 now, and that's absolutely massive for me. So if you haven't already, please do subscribe. It would mean a massive amount to me. Don't forget to join us again on Thursday, like I said, for another live stream. We're going to be talking about some news. We're going to be going on about something about Everton. That's the wrong word to use. We're going to be talking about some of the latest news surrounding Everton Football Club, talking about some more transfer rumours and talking about anything else that creeps up between now and then. So don't forget to join us at 6:15 on Thursday for that one. It makes it be a really good stream. If you have enjoyed this one, please do leave a like. It really does mean a massive amount to me, and subscribe, like I said, if you haven't already. Alex says, would you take Balassi back for one season? I was watching highlights and he was one of our best players. I wouldn't. That's the trouble with watching highlights, is I think they only highlight the good things. I think Balassi's got a lot of talent. However, I just think his injuries, and I just think he's not what we need going forward. So for me personally, if we can get some money for him, I'd sell him. But of course, if you'd like him back, that's your opinion. Let me know your thoughts on that one in the comment section down below. Alex also says, young Glow and Gloria. Still not sure what that means, but I'll take it as a positive. But anyway, that's going to do it from me today. A massive thank you to everybody watching. If you're watching live, a massive thank you for getting involved in the live comments as per usual. If you're watching the YouTube video afterwards, don't forget to leave all your thoughts and comments in the comment section. I'll be replying to those all night. Leave the video a like if you have enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to join me at 6:15 on Thursday for another live team. A massive thank you for watching. Leave all your ups and downs in the comment section down below, and I'll see you soon on the Mighty Blues.